All right, so in this part of Inside, part three, we come into contact with a different creature who behaves very differently from many of the other creatures in the game and is pretty unique. Um, so let's see if I can figure out where the clip is here. I believe she'll appear in the water at this point. Yeah, this is not the first time we see her, but well, let's see if I can get back to the first point where we see her. Here it is. And so I believe it's a her anyway. She seems to be somewhat feminine. She's naked, long dark hair, swims in kind of a way that's reminiscent of mermaids, or there are other mythological creatures that kind of come from the depths to lure people down. Um, but the question remains, and throughout the game, what is she? She seems to be some sort of evolved zombie creature, or is otherwise allied with the overseer class here. She certainly is able to act of her own volition to some degree, but again, she actually only acts in response to stimuli. When you are not in the water, she's dormant. So she just stays floating there. If you can see down below, she's kind of right there, I think, until you come in the water, at which point she acts. So she still is at least somewhat sort of robotic in her behaviors and doesn't seem to be completely free to act on her own. Um, her behaviors, like the behaviors of the zombie kind of longer term worker class zombies, emphasizes the theme of togetherness, although it's obviously in kind of a creepy way. She continues to try to pull you down to the depths, which, is her domain. And so, but early on anyway, if you go to the depths with her, you die. But it becomes apparent later on, and you should have watched the video, because this is, spoilers if you're if you're following along with me here, that at this point in the game, you think you've successfully gotten away from her, but in fact, the music changes, and she drags you down into the depths, and actually doesn't just kind of straight kill you as she has in the past. At one point, as you transition down further and further, she attaches cable to you that is reminiscent of the mind control cables that are scattered throughout the game, that latch onto your head, and you actually kind of transition. You clearly kind of stop moving at that point, so it seems as though you're dead. But then she attaches this cable, I believe, here coming up as you go through this darkness, and then eventually you come back. So there's the cable, I think, that she grabs, attaches it to you for a little while. It seems to usher in some kind of transition, wherein now you will be more like her. And at that point, actually, she seems to leave you alone, largely. This section of the game is over. So what is that? Well, it kind of goes to the main themes of control, but it also sort of hints at this idea of loneliness and togetherness, and trying to find some connection even in the darkness of this dystopian world. Later but it also is obviously kind of an inversion of, or questioning of, our normal physics or rules that govern our world, because obviously no one can breathe underwater. So there's a question as to whether or not this boy is actually alive anymore, or even if he was at the beginning, which I think he somewhat clearly was. But there's also later on in the game another questioning or inversion of physics, where literally gravity is turned on its head. And so if I fast forward to certain sections here, we'll get to a place where water is actually hanging above, I believe, water. Maybe that's later. No, I think that is right here in this section. Well, perhaps it's later on. I can't remember. But we start to question the rules that govern the physical world, as well as the living, or whatever, being world in this game.